Hey guys, welcome back to Watching Sidney. We're kind of in the middle, or in the last phase of our second segment of this series, in which we're talking about the films of the late great Sidney Poitier. And in this segment, we're dealing with films from 1958 to 1965. I've dealt with a number of films already, and we're up to a very important film, another film from 1965. That was a busy, like 1957, 1965 was a very busy year for Sidney Poitier. This film is called A Patch of Blue. A Patch of Blue, directed by Guy Green. No joke there intended. With Elizabeth Hartman, Shelley Winters, and Ivan Dixon again, with whom Poitier has worked twice before. Great black actor. Poitier plays Gordon Ralph, an office worker. It's actually never clear, never established what Poitier actually does, what kind of office he works in. All right. Although people think of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner 2 years after this as the film that depicts Hollywood's first interracial kiss and relationship and kiss, A Patch of Blue, this film, could arguably lay claim to that distinction, as it includes a full-on, on-the-lips kiss between Poitier and his co-star, Elizabeth Hartman. The kissing, by the way, was cut from the film when shown in the American South. Wonder why? Yeah. Poitier sings in this film, in a scene briefly. He sings in French, no less. And he's definitely dubbed. Although this time, unlike in Porgy and Bess and something else he was dubbed in, Amen. This time his voice is a better match. It sounds more like it's Poitier singing. The other times they were great voices, but they didn't quite, you could tell it wasn't him. This time, actually, if you didn't know, you might think it was him singing, in French no less. Shelley Winters is wonderful in this piece, playing the lead woman's sister. She actually won an Oscar, Best Supporting Actress, for this. Interesting. Poitier helps actresses win Best Supporting Actress. Lilia Scala won Best Supporting Actress for Lilies of the Field, and here Shelley Winters, great actress, wins it for this. Ivan Dixon, who at this point had worked with Poitier at least twice before, is wonderful as Poitier's brother. Now, this is the first film, other than Cry the Beloved Country, set in South Africa, in which Poitier has a serious dramatic relationship with another male black actor. Now, his relationship with Brock Peters, who plays Crown in Porgy and Bess, primarily involves one physical altercation. His relationship with the two black actors in Raising the Sun is almost nil. He has none with one of them, and with the other one, played by Lou Gossett Jr., he has a very short, brief, disparaging and dismissive relationship, nothing deep at all. But here, he has a real serious dramatic relationship with Ivan Dixon playing his brother, and that's a first for him in film. Despite the tentative kiss that Selena gives Gordon, that the white actress gives Poitier, there is no sexuality. In fact, there is barely a sexual tension between the two. Okay? One of Gordon's first interactions with Selena is his putting his hand down the back of her shirt. Now, it's to pull out a caterpillar that has fallen down her shirt. It's not a sexual thing. Yet when he does it, and he does it in public in a park, there is no apprehension. There is no awkwardness or tension about the moment. Interesting. In his films so far, Poitier seems to be deliberately protected from white female sexuality. Here, he simply isn't interested in the girl in that way, consistently responding to her with pity rather than with desire. In Lilies of the Field, none of the young white nuns pose any sexual threat to him at all. Complete sexuality, a complete non-issue. Interesting. In one scene, Poitier's brother says that Selina, quote unquote, comes from the trash heap, a reference to white trash. Here are two educated and accomplished black men contrasted with a poor, uneducated white girl from a seriously dysfunctional family context that involves alcoholism, violence, and rape. Similar to the superiority of Poitier to Bobby Darin's abused Nazi sympathizer character in Pressure Point, Gordon's superiority here to Selina is one that white audiences would not necessarily be uncomfortable with. You understand the point I'm making? He is superior to his white, screen partner in both both instances, at least both two films, but it doesn't say much. You know, this girl is poor, kind of white trash, if I may use the reference made in the film, from an abused, alcoholic, violent background. And Bobby Darin from an abused background, he's not. Yeah, so Poitier is clearly superior to these characters. Okay, I mean, one would hope so, right? Hollywood's not necessarily putting him in a position in which he's not yet, in which he's superior to a white person of a more steady and less ethically, morally questionable background. Just saying. At one point, Poitier slaps Shelley Winter's hand and shoves her and gets away with it. Although Winter's character yells, "Did you see that?" to the observing crowd, no one does anything about it. I couldn't help thinking of the slap in Something of Value, the slap that he gives back to the white character, and the famous slap to come in the Heat of the Night, which we haven't talked about yet. Was this hand slapping in the script of A Patch of Blue, or did Poitier make sure it was there? You know what I'm saying? We'll talk about this more when we talk about the famous slap in the Heat of the Night. But I wonder if Poitier went to the producer, the director, or the writer and said, "Hey, you know what? I want to be able to slap. I want to. When she puts her hands on me, I want to be able to slap her." I wonder if that was something that he made sure was there. You got to ask with Poitier, because this is the kind of thing that he was very concerned about his image on screen, his image, which was responsible for so much of the image of the African American in America at that time. He was carrying that onus, that weight. A few interesting and distinct moments in the film. Selina says at one point to Poitier, "You sound like the radio," in response to Poitier's proper speech. I don't know if you guys know this, but in order to improve his English, Poitier would listen to American radio for hours. So it's interesting that she says, "You sound like the radio." There's a very real and unrehearsed, I'm sure, moment when Poitier, squatting in the grass in the park talking to Selina, loses his balance, starts to fall backwards, and catches himself. And he goes right on with the scene, goes right on with his lines, incorporating the moment, the accident, seamlessly into the scene. I just love it. I love seeing those things in film. Great moment. At one point, Selina and Gordon whistle Somewhere Over the Rainbow together. Unless the whistling is dubbed, Poitier is a pretty good whistler. Selina says to Poitier at one point, "I wanted you to make love to me." And Poitier's reaction to her saying that is subtly powerful and beautiful. A lot of the power of Poitier's acting was a very subtle one, in which reactions, as I said before, watching and listening and reacting. Beautiful moment. As in the Bedford incident and many films to come, Poitier is an incredible watcher and listener. As in many other films of his, Duel at Diablo, Band of Angels and The Long Ships in particular. Poitier is dressed wonderfully, impeccably, and looks stunning in this film. He's an office worker, but boy, he looks like an executive in a lot of this film. This film, although a bit corny and predictable at times, snuck up on me, and by the end really moved me. The most moving moment is towards the end when Selena, the white girl, touching Poitier's face, says, "I know everything I need to know about you. I love you. I know you're good and kind. I know you're colored. And I think you're beautiful." It's making me cry right now. Wow. This is a white girl saying this to Poitier, 1965, on film. It's when he says, she says, "I love you." He says, "You don't know me." She says, "No, I know everything I need to know about you. I love you. I know you're good and kind. I know you're colored. And I think you're beautiful." Wow. This film is definitely worth seeing. Some people know about it. A lot of people don't. Not one of his most famous films, but it should be a must-see, really, both for performance and also just the theme. And as I said, I think it is Hollywood's first interracial kiss. It's got to be interracial kiss with any romantic sexual involvement. Not like someone on the plantation, a slave on the plantation kissing master's face or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's the first real kiss interracially. The Slender Thread, 1965, directed by the great film director Sidney Poitier, with Anne Bancroft, later of The Graduate fame, Telly Savalas, Ed Asner in a very small role, and Stephen Hill, later of Law and Order fame. Poitier plays Alan Newell. He's a young Seattle psychology student working at a suicide crisis center. And as in the film The Bedford Incident of the same year, race is a complete non-issue in this film. Completely a non-issue in this film. This was actually the first film directed by future Oscar-winning director Sidney Poitier. The music, by the way, is by Quincy Jones. The opening shot is of Poitier extremely adroitly riding a bicycle one-handed from his classes to work. So I wonder, was this in the script and he therefore had to do it and learn to do it well? Or did Poitier do this particularly well and therefore they put it in the script? As an actor, you kind of wonder, because you wonder, wow, did they ask him he had to ride a bike and then he had to learn how to do it so well in the short time he had to do it? Or did he do it well already and put it in there? I don't know. The writing is a bit forced at times and a bit sensational, a bit melodramatic in this film. This might account for why Poitier's performance is a little uneven in this film, like it is in what's the film in Lilies of the Field. A little uneven. Sometimes he seems right at home with the material. Sometimes not quite. Anne Bancroft and Telly Savalas are both excellent in this film. But it's Stephen Hill, as I said, later of Law and Order fame, who gives the finest performance in this film as Bancroft's conflicted husband. Some beautiful acting on Hill's part. It's a decent film, not great. Again, if you're interested in Poitier, you got to see it. Ed Asner has a tiny little role, and you go, "Oh wow, there's the guy who's going to be so famous." The late great Ed Asner. He deserves a series on his work. And that's about it for The Slender Thread. I don't have much more significant to say about that. And that, in fact, is the last film we're going to talk about for this time. I think I'd like to conclude here and then save some more for the next and final installment of Watching Sidney, which covers the incredible year of 1967, the three films that made him like the most successful box office draw and actor in Hollywood. To conclude, all in all, what an incredible 8 years this was for Poitier. a breakout role in The Defiant Ones, a lead in a film version of an opera, a lead in an award-winning film based on an award-winning Broadway play, an Academy Award for Best Actor in a Film, the very first for a man of color, and a groundbreaking moment in film, a kiss with a white actress on screen, a full 2 years before Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and right in the thick of the civil rights movement. What a career, what an actor, what a man. I hope you'll join us soon for the third and final segment of Watching Sidney, and a look at the astonishing film career of the late great Sidney Poitier. It's been my pleasure. Take care till next time.